All right, what's going on, chat? Mic check. Mic check 1 2. How's it going, chat? Hope everyone's doing well. Turn the music down a little bit. What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing? Friday night. Hello, Jim from Eastern North Carolina. How's it going? How you doing? How you doing? All right, let's catch up with everybody. Excuse me. What's going on? What's going on? How's it going, Jim? Yo, Craggerroll, what's going on, dude? Well, I've been in Kinky Muddler fly tying mode, so that's all I've been doing. But, what do you call it? We have some cinder gurglers, marabou gurglers to tie tonight. So I tied some of these recently for a shop and just dropped them off, and they sold out of the floating ones instantly. So I think there's like a little cinder bite going on. So there is a moon coming up. In fact, it might even be tonight. I don't know. That I wanted to go to this one spot, but as you can see, this is what I've been doing. I have these 4 odds. I also have 2 odds I've been working on and other ones. So Kinky Muddlers, Kinky Muddlers, Kinky Muddlers is the that's what the season is right now. So quite busy at the moment, and also working on some videos. Another fly time video, and once I get a good chunk of these done, I think I'm going to start working on the springtime striper fly box video and stuff. So quite busy at the moment. But that being said, we got some cool cinder worms to tie tonight for a local shop, and we only got, we'll tie maybe a dozen or so. I don't think I'm going to tie all that tonight, but what we'll do is we'll just tie them one by one and kind of chit chat as usual. So I'll swap some thread over and all that. How's it going, Neves? Hope you're doing well. Maybe we'll have Zeke stop in the chat. I was actually going to go fishing with him yesterday. Or today, I think it would have been. But, what do you call it? I have a lot of work to do, so I spent the entire day today getting most of these done. I'm about to trim the heads on the 64 odds, and then glue the eyes on, and then glue the liquid fusion, and then start working on finishing up 2 odds or other 4 odds. Just a lot of flies, as usual. So I got to take advantage of it because all these guys are going down in May. It always ends up being a pile up in April and May, but there's a big chunk of my fly tying, so for the year. That being said, we still got some striper flies to tie for local shops and some like private stuff and for ourselves and all that. I haven't done much fishing, unfortunately. I went and did some fishing last week. I've just caught some shad, but I'm going to be going out and probably trying to find some worm hatches soon. But between the 2 YouTubes and the fly tying right now, we're in like super go mode. So just getting as much work done as possible. That being said, I'm going to try and get some cinder worms done. I'll have to go drop these off. Got to wet a line. Oh, yeah, I know. Well, this is why I always loved my little local creek down by my house. Because it was almost like a guarantee I could take a break from fly tying and go catch a schoolie. But nowadays, there ain't many smaller fish coming this far back in the bay by my area, so I'll still get out and do some fishing, but I'm just not fishing as much as I want to. But, that's the way it is. You end up spending more time tying flies during the peak season. So, we're going to be tying some. Problem is, we don't have any marabou that's super long, and they want them a little bit longer. So, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take a red saddle hackle. And we'll go with 1 red saddle hackle, and then we'll go with marabou. We'll do like a flat wing. You want something around 3 inches, almost. It's going to be right about there. Okay. You know, we could. The problem is this marabou isn't ultra select. If this was like a select marabou, we might be able to get the length. Like this, for instance. So we'll just cheat, go with a flat wing tail, and then we'll put marabou around it. This will help get a little bit of length, a little bit of nice movement, because it's going to be a flat wing tail. And then we'll kind of cover it in marabou is what I'm thinking. Because these are longer than what I would use for cinderworms, but in this particular pond, in this area, this fly shop, further out east, the worms are a little bit larger, I think he was saying. And he wants them extra floaty. For some reason, you say they weren't floating enough, so... Same gurgler cinderworms I always tie about, so we'll use a good chunk of foam this time. Well, the tying's just as fun, but I will say, obviously, I think it's a little bit more fun to actually catch some fish, but I do enjoy fly tying. That's why I do it for a living. Not because of the money. That's for certain. Let's get that straight. Yo, Neves, what's up? Gene. Traveler, what's going on, dude? Aloha. How's it going? How you been? So, these flies are very simple. We're going to try and bang out as many as we can, I think, today. We're going to take some marabou and just cut it off the quill so we can better make use of it without wasting too much. Do some on the bottom, some on the top here. Kind of have it spread all around. We kind of blend in that hackle, you know? That should be good. You got to think about it, the marabou is going to be compressing in the water, so that is one thing. You want to make sure you have enough marabou in there. So you still get that kind of cinderworm profile on the sides and all that. Let's see if we can find some more marabou. We're going to need more of this. I don't need necessarily as long stuff. I can kind of top it with something a little shorter. Just want a little bit more on here. Yo, what's up, Unicorn? How you doing? Get a little bit more marabou on there. Take the short stuff out of there. You definitely want it to... That's right about where I like it. Maybe a little bit less, but that's good. We're going to cut some foam strips. Now, this is a double-sided foam. Ideally, I got this in bulk back in the day, so this is what I use, but it's almost easier to not use the sticky foam, but this is just what I got, so I'm going to peel it off. I'm leaving it wider than I normally would for normal cinderworm patterns that I fish, because they wanted them like with more foam and wider, so that's what we're doing. I'm gonna go sticky side to sticky side. Yo, what's up, Southern Fly Guy? How's it going? Yeah, if you don't have if you don't have sticky foam, you can just double side it. This does make it nice and secure, though, I will say. You know, and he wants it thicker, so I'm just gonna clean up the side, but I'm gonna leave it pretty thick, so should have good buoyancy. We can get two pieces out of this essentially. What's going on, Yumi? Hope you're doing well. Oh, everything's going good, Southern. Thank you for asking. Just busy as always. Will stripers hit the worm if there's no hatch happening? Yeah, I mean, it's... they're, what do you call it? What's the right word I'm trying to think of? They're opportunistic feeders, for sure, so they'll eat a worm pattern. But the thing is, it's generally they get keyed in on it, and what we find is, like, the worm hatch starts, like, up to a week almost before a moon at times. I think tonight might be, like, a full moon, if I'm not wrong. There's probably a hatch going on. But, it's usually, like, the week before and the week after, because you'll see, like, a little bit of worms or something, or they kind of know. I don't know if it's the same fish coming back, but they know what the deal is. And they get super keyed in on the cinders. And even when there's not a hatch happening, we'll still fish the cinder worm flies and catch fish. Because every once in a while, you'll see, like, the odd worm that comes out or something, or the odd worm or whatever. But I think they get, like, super keyed in on this. They know what's happening. Like, they 100% either, I don't know if it's, like, a genetics thing or it's an experience thing or what, but it's usually, it needs to be in the time frame, though. It's like, if the worm hatch happened as well, like, the fish will still, like, be kind of somewhat keyed in on it, so you could still fish them. When it comes to just straight up fishing random worm flies, it's kind of like just fishing a gurgler at that point, right? So, sure, like, you could, it's like fishing a little red deceiver. You totally can. Going to the Philippines in June, gonna try some fly fishing there. Taking a 9-weight and 5-weight. Hopefully stream some lives there too. Oh, that'd be sick. So what sort of fishing you got over there? You got, like, some bonefish or something? Do they got some GTs and stuff too? Well, if this doesn't float, I don't know what to tell them. Like, I don't know what to say. I also generally tie my cinder worms with not a giant lip, because I don't necessarily want them to chug or pop. I want them to kind of be like a slider, but I think he wanted them to push water more, or, like, almost be like a popper, so we're gonna add some more foam on there. And then I'm just taking some leftover dubbing, wire dubbing brush material from the EPs that I had in the past, because I save it if I have to trim it. And that's what we're using for the throat. Don't need much. Just gonna do, like, a couple ties here and then wrap it back. And then last but not least, we're going for a dark head. I was using Crystal Flash, or a Staz I should say, but I'm out. So I'm going to be using some Senno's Laser Dub here in black. Probably don't need this much. Just kind of get a black head on there. Something tells me I could have got 3 heads out of this, but that's okay. Popper heads, that is. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, it's a very simple fly, you know? Let me actually lower the ISO a little bit. This red's really hot right now. Just a very vibrant red for sure. And normally I would cut this down smaller. I would cut this kind of rounded almost right by the point. I almost don't want a lip on my cinder gurglers. But the pond I usually fish, they get very keyed in, and they get very particular about the size. So by leaving, normally I would trim the foam at a cross cut here in the back, and I would trim this almost down like that for a cinder worm, for much slimmer. But I mean, look at the size of this foam head. On the little size 2 Gamakatsu, if he tells me there's an issue with this thing floating, I'm going to tell him to get a new floating line. Alright. Keep on tying, yeah. There's probably some cinderworm stuff going on. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't necessarily search with a smaller cinder gurgler. I would just fish a larger gurgler. You know what I mean? Yeah, we found it's better. Just more so, we found it's better that the cinderworm flies don't necessarily pop. If they would pop, it almost like spooks the fish where we're fishing, because it's generally so quiet and calm, and it's in like a estuary in the way back by grass. So fishing it like a slider seems to be more effective most of the time, with my experience with the ponds I fish. But you know, it's different for everybody. So if a customer tells me they want them lawner and to make more noise, then I'll gladly do it. You know what I mean? And again, I wish I kind of had long enough marabou. I could the ultra select stuff that I could just use the marabou, but I don't, unfortunately. So for the full like 3 inches, I'm just a little short, you know. That's okay though, it'll work. And again, like, you could palmer the marabou, which is a very valid thing. I find palmer and marabou is great, but if you want a fly to be as durable as possible, you cut off the quill, because unless you're counter wrapping with wire, like you would do with like a steelhead fly, the fly is becoming more prone to, just like a palmered hackle, to breaking over time. So I like cutting it off. It also, I feel like you get more marabou out of it when you cut it off as well, so it's kind of like a win-win. Yeah, honestly, we'll go with just a little bit of some shorter stuff to go with it. So it kind of tapers down in length. You got to realize it's really going to slim down once it's in the water. We get a grass shrimp hatch, first new moon in May in Narragansett Bay at certain spots. I think tonight is the first new moon. I think it's like a flower moon or something. That or it's coming up. I forgot. I Googled it though, because I was tying these cinder worms and I'm like, oh dude, there's got to be a hatch coming up. I got to go. Because that has been the most consistent bass fishing I've had in the past, I don't know how many years. Is the cinderworm hatches have been some of the best bass fishing I've had. Consistently, at least. When we've been kind of having a drought in other areas. From the lack of smaller fish in general. There were some good bites going on, like on the beach and stuff, it looks like, so. It sucks, but I gotta get as much flies done as possible, so it's very important. Some of our customers got fish that were pretty close, if not like a pound or maybe close to a pound or two shorter than the world record roosterfish on the fly, so. There were some gigantic fish caught on these roosterfish muddlers. So, not only am I getting like a killer price for them, but it's also like some of the coolest fishing you can do and some of the biggest roosterfish in the world that these guys are going and slamming on our flies. So, it's just so cool. I'm going to tell them to definitely get a bunch of pics and give them to me so I can show them on stream. Because he like barely sent me any last year. Luckily I had some other customers go down with them and they sent some cool pics for us that we've used in videos. So something I was fishing last year is an articulated version of this fly, and we actually have it, I think, on the channel, if I'm not wrong, the articulated one. I want to say, yeah, there should be an articulated cinderworm on the channel, I feel like. It's full now. Yeah. Tonight's the full moon. I should be out cinderworm fishing. I should have went fishing with Zeke this morning. Hopefully Zeke did good. He was out in his boat, but what do you call it? Yeah. But the show must go on. The fly tying must go on. There's a new moon in 2 weeks. Yeah, that's the one. New moons in particular usually are the hot ones. And I'm pretty certain the one that we do every year is like in around the second week of May. It's not the first moon cycle of the month. It's usually the pond I usually fish. I think it's like the second week of May or something like that. You see, it sounds about right. That's the one that we stream at, where we go stream the worm hatch and all that. We'll see. I think, you know what? Maybe I'll try and get it set up so we go stream on the new moon. Is what we'll do. I'll try and have the stream thing set up so I can stream to 2 platforms at once. That was probably one of the best streams. I mean, we've done some cool streams. We've had some 6 streams where we've caught like freaking sharks, gigantic bluefish. It's going to be hard to beat the one with the gigantic bluefish or some of the shark streams. But I will say that's probably one of the coolest streams we've done, is where the cinderworms were eating in the grass. So, yeah, thank you for reminding me. I looked it up. I knew the full moon, I think, was today. But the new moon is generally like the cinderworm freaky one, where they go nuts. And it's also warming up a little bit, so it's dependent on the ponds too, right? Each pond could potentially hatch at different times, different moons, or different months. There's some worm hatches that'll happen all the way into the summer. This pond really just hatches like this particular time in May, and then that's really it. So, which is kind of interesting. I'm gonna make sure this thing's durable and put some super glue on top too for the foam to adhere to. You got to be careful. You can't wrap too much because you'll actually cut the foam. So you need to like wrap tight enough, but you can't wrap too tight. So you got to be careful. Clean up this foam right here. It looks like I cut through it, but it's just a jagged cut. That's still a little big. There we go. Yeah, the moon stuff's fun. What pattern will you use? So what I've been fishing is an articulated. I got to order. So I'm going to order from... Actually, I don't know if Saltwater Flies has them. I got to look. But the small fish skull shanks, I think they are, or whatever. Or not the fish skull, the... forgot the brand. It's the same company, Flyman Co. Shanks. It's the same company that makes my swim tank. They have the tiny 5mm shanks. And what you do is you take those shanks and you interconnect them. So you have like 3 or 4 of them, or what you do is you essentially do what I'm doing with the dubbing material, where you like kind of V-tie it, and then I do that up 4 shanks, and then I attach it to like a mono loop or another shank tied to the hook, and then do a gurgler pattern with that. And the whole time in the water, you don't even need to touch it. It's just swimming like a snake. I'm telling you, it's so good. I don't tie them commercially because I feel like I should charge like $15 for that thing for how long it takes, but it's such a tiny little fly, it's not really worth it. But it has unbelievable movement, and every time I use it, I always end up doing good and catching like decent sized bass too. Like last year we caught a couple 30 or 32-inch ones or something, and it's always right around it's like 5-10 minutes after it starts getting pitch black, and that's when I usually I'm just like lighting up a cigarette or something, and my line goes tight while it's just drifting out there. And that's when I get the big ones or something. It's always funny. It's hard for me to get footage of a lot of that stuff because it's happening in like the pitch black, and I do not turn on headlamps. You know what I mean? I have some footage with like turning on like a light really close to the fish and then letting them go like from my, but it's hard for me to film. I'm not really trying to even like, I'm just experiencing. I just love it, you know? But I got to see, maybe I can bring like my camera and try and specifically film the feeding going on. It's tough. There's nowhere really, it's like you're in like a marsh that you have to like walk through people's backyards almost to get to. Or not through the bed, but on the shore, you know, you're like walking under people's docks. They're like looking at you like, what the hell are you doing? Luckily, we have right of way with the high tide line, so anybody can essentially go anywhere in the water. Nobody owns the beach or anything. I've never had anyone say anything, but still, it's like, you know, it just feels awkward. People are like sitting on their deck or on their dock in like sun chairs, and you're like waiting underneath them. Strip it or grease line? Well, it depends. Like a lot of times what I'll do is I'll dead drift it and twitch it. It's kind of what works for me, but also what we found to be the most effective thing is sight fishing for boils or sight fishing in general. Like the fish are right next to me a lot of times and they're boiling right at my feet. So the best thing to do is wait for a boil, pick up your fly, drop it right down and just twitch it once. And the fish will usually eat it. If not, then I'll like make a couple casts in the particular area where the fish was boiling. And then generally by that point, another fish will boil and I'll start doing that again, you know what I mean? Because there's just fish like boiling everywhere. So you can definitely just blind cast, but I've found that some of the best eats and some of the times the most successful stuff we've had is when we've literally like sight fished with like a dry fly cinder worm. It's almost like, you know what I mean? There's one particular clip where we got one fish where I was like, half of my line was in the grass and the fish boiled, and I like picked up my line, dropped it right where the boil was and twitched it, and like there's like 10-15 feet of line in the grass, and the fish came up and just ate it like a trout or something. It was perfect. That's what a lot of the fishing's like when it's going on. Even at night you can see the boils against the reflection of like the dock lights off in the distance, so you can like pick up your line and cast it, you know. But I mean, just blind casting works too, but I'm not like aggressively stripping it, if that's what you're asking. I'm like fishing it very slowly a majority of the time, because what the worms will do, they'll do these figure 8 pattern movements. You cannot replicate that in any way. So the best thing to do is just kind of let it kind of like wiggle around, like if you dropped a worm in the water or something, you know. Because these cinder worms will actually move, but they do these like figure 8 movements. They're not like moving in a straight line, so it's very hard to replicate that. And I find it's best to just kind of let the fly do its thing in the water a lot of times, and just with some light stripping or some twitches or something. Now you could certainly aggressively pop it or something, but... And I say pop it because the majority of the time I'm fishing this. I'm fishing a gurgler like fly. You don't have to. We have subsurface ones that I fish a lot and I do very well with. Imagine the fly that we just tied without the gurgler head. Same exact fly, essentially, you know what I mean? That's essentially what I would use. Looks about right. Okay. Tippet, I'll use like 20 pound fluorocarbon to like 30. I don't use like 10, 15, 12 or anything like that. The fish don't seem to care. 20 pound fluoro seems to work fine. Fluorocarbon though, for sure, just because of how clear it is. But I've gone there with old beat up leaders and done very good. But generally I'll fish like a 10, 11 foot leader with like maybe 5 foot of 20 pound fluoro, and then like 6 or 5 foot of 30-pound mono or something, or fluoro if I have it. I don't seem to have an issue with, like, some people I know, like, will fish like 10, 12 pound leader tippet. I don't use that. 15's the lightest I've used in years, and that was for albies. And even then, I don't like 15 pound because you break them off. I catch just as many fish with 20 pound as my buddy does with 15 pound, you know, for albies. If you're fishing the flats, that's one thing. I think if you're fishing the flats, that could be a whole nother story. But you're not fishing the flats when you're fishing for cinder worms. You could be in like a flat-like location with like an estuary or something, but the interesting thing where we fish, it's very, very, very deep. It's almost like 10, 12 feet. Upwards of 20 feet in some areas. I don't know why. It's just so freaking deep. Like, if you step off the sod bank, it's literally like you're in 8-foot water. It's really crazy. So the fish will just come up like a great white shark, or like, you know what I mean, from like underneath, and just come up and turn and grab a cinder worm and just go straight back down. So it's really cool. It's a really cool location. It's not like a lot of the other estuary ponds that I've been to where it's like, you know, the pond near my house where I always fish, where it's like a pretty shallowish pond with like a boat channel or something. This is a very interesting spot. And all sod. You need the right sod and marsh, like the right sod bank with mussels and grass, because they come out of the sod and out of the mud. So a lot of it's dependent on the moon, but also like the water temperature and the temperature of the mud and all that. So, very interesting stuff. Some of the coolest striper fishing I think you'll ever experience. It can be very frustrating. I've been to worm hatches in other locations where the fish are like, it's really tough to get them to eat. Like, really tough. But this particular spot, these fish are very cooperative. Doesn't mean you're going to catch 100 of them, but you're going to have a good bite. It's also not very pressured, which is good. Not that many of the worm spots out here are super pressured, because it's not like there's like 100 dudes fly fishing worm hatches out here. I remember we fished with a bunch of spin fishermen once at this worm hatch, and these guys they were not able to catch like a damn thing. My one friend, I told him, I looked in his tackle box and he had like a largemouth bass like worm, like a Senos worm or something. I told him to put that thing on there and just like twitch it, and he got one on that. But I was slamming fish one after another on these gurglers. So I've been fishing these for probably like 20 years now, these little cinder gurglers. They always work great. But I'll never forget all the spin fishing guys are like, what the hell is this? This is cheating. I'm like, hey, let the fly fishing guy have a day of catching bass, all right? You guys normally catch all the fish with ease. Let me have my day, all right? They're like these random older guys, like, what the? They're like all pissed off. The guy with the buggy whip's catching all the fish. I think that was when my friend PJ too. He came out with that day we were shark fishing. He was like, damn, okay, fly fishing's legit. There are many times we went and like where pretty much both of us didn't catch anything and we were fishing. I'm like trying to tell him how cool fly fishing is, you know? Meanwhile, I'm like, it's blowing like 30 miles an hour. I'm like trying to cast into the wind. Yeah, it's great. But yeah, cinderworm stuff's fun. Take a little break from some rooster fish flies. By the way, I got these down to like, I think they're 4 ties now, and I've sparsed them out. Still looks like a decent amount of material, but I think they're gonna, once I trim them down, they're gonna be, the problem was some of the guys were saying like with rooster fish flies, they need to hit the water and instantly be able to be stripped at 100 miles an hour. Like, you need to, like, be able to hook this in up to the back of a jet ski and have it go, like that, you know? So, sometimes they were just a little too much material, which is kind of how you want them for striped bass. So, I had to, again, sparsen down a little bit more. It's always sparse, sparse, sparse. So, the main guy that I'm tying these for, he wasn't even the one, he didn't even say anything. It was the other guys. But I told him that I did a couple tweaks, so. But, yeah, pretty good. We'll see. Working on roosterfish flies. One day we'll go down. But we already got connections down there. Angle in Baja. Alright. Let's, flat wings. So what's everyone been tying? That's what I really want to know. Post your stuff in the Discord. We'll take a look later tonight. Oh, this little side note. We've been working on some guitar stuff, too. We got, me and Frosty, who's my mod, longtime mod. He's been, like, learning guitar, so I've been teaching him some stuff, and we've been jamming. So we got it set up to where we can play guitar online together. There still might be like a slight delay we need to figure out and work out, but we've been jamming, writing some stuff, or working on some songs or whatever. So eventually, I'm thinking this summer I'm going to try and do some live music stuff. I just don't know where. I know it'd definitely be on Twitch, but I don't know which YouTube channel. I need to figure out this one or the other one. Let's see. Need some marabou here. But the whole thing with that is I'd like to make some just kind of chill backing track music for our videos. Because I pay for like music services and stuff, so it's something I'm working on. Eventually you might hear a change in like the fly tying videos. Some like slow blues or something, you know, or slow kind of spacey rock songs in the background. I'm slowly working on stuff, but again, right now it's like peak roosterfish and video and everything else time. Fly tying time. Try one with triple foam rather than change the shape, or would that be too much foam? You know what? It's just at that point, it's almost a little too much. This is enough. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. They should swim just fine. I don't understand why he's saying that. I guess in his mind, they're more like, it should be like a cinderworm popper, but, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the gurgler not being, like, super, super, super buoyant. Especially because you can kind of get it down a little bit, like right under the film of the surface at times. And have it float back up and stuff. But, nah, this is alright. I mean, I'll go get a cup of water, and we can, you know, I'll say, get a cup of water, dude, let's fish it. You might need to grease your line or something. You're fishing with some heavy fluorocarbon or something. I don't know what. But for a size 2 Gamakatsu, I mean, we got a big chunk of foam on there, you know? This is like what I would use for like the sort of head I could use for like a 1-odd gurgler. Or a size 1, you know? No problem. I mean, mind you, the ones I gave him were smaller than this, but still, foam heads, but it's the way I've been tying them for the same 20 years, so I don't know. I think he just wanted them a little bit more with a larger head, I guess, so that's all. We tweak it. And the other thing is he did want, like, a bigger lip on them, so that's the reason why I'm kind of changing the shape, I guess you could say, if you will. Again, if somebody wants me to tweak something, I have no problem ever doing it. But if it's something where I think the fly's not going to swim right anymore, then that's where I'll be like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. It doesn't mean you can't. It's just that at that point, I think we're really kind of changing the profile of the fly, because these cinder worms are never going to be like that thick up top and bottom, you know? You want to make sure that whether the fly is sitting perfectly or not, that the profile, that when this fish sees this fly from below, that it's going to have that cinder worm shape and profile. So I got to make sure that it's the right profile, top, bottom, and side, and everything. It's the whole idea, I guess you could say. So I'm just leaving it to where it's kind of, A, I made the foam wider than I usually would, and B, I'm leaving it longer than I usually would, so that's all. Now, actually, I'm running a little low on that dubbing material, so I have some ram's wool mixed with that dubbing material, but it's like so close to the same material that I think it's gonna work just fine. See, like this is dubbing material, or this is ram's wool that I cut off of a simple cone or a pop lip. And I was like, man, this is really nice red ram's wool. Like, I could totally make a dubbing out of it or do something. So I just threw it in a bag, but it turns out it's perfect for this sort of thing. And ram's wool is quite buoyant too, so I had some of the dubbing material mixed with it. Just kind of made like a custom dubbing, if you will, or something. Again, you don't want a lot of material. This is just like kind of the bristly, sort of dangly stuff that the worms have on them, you know? The idea. If you really want to get fancy, you can color what you do is you color the tips of the worms to where it's like the little, it's like their legs, it's like thousands of legs or something. You make that black or something, for instance, or a dark color. But there are many types of worm species. I think a lot of times it's like a general term, cinderworm hatch, but there's cinderworms are a very specific type of worm species that is the most common one, but there's other types of worm hatches that happen that people just call cinderworm hatches because there are species that are very similar looking but are different. I've seen worm hatches where it's like bloodworms almost, where they're like, you know, 4 or 5 inch skinny worms that are like drifting down, you know what I mean? Almost look like if somebody was razor clamming with a rack and they churned up the bottom and all the worms got dug up and they were getting kicked, but for some reason they just came out. It was like a moon too, so I saw it for a couple days and I caught a bass. We have a old video on a cinderworm gurgler, but it's like a 4 or 5 inch cinderworm gurgler with a big rabbit strip. That was from that particular feed. They were keyed in on these bloodworms or something or whatever. I don't know what sort of worm species it was, but it was some long, thin, skinny worm species that was. And again, they say hatch. It's not a hatch. It's a spawn. The worms aren't hatching from eggs or something. They're adult worms spawning, but whatever that event was with those things. Yeah, whoever said cinderworm spawn really kind of it's definitely hatch, which I think most people say, but I've heard people say spawn quite a lot, and every once in a while, I'll say it by accident. All right. Yeah, as you can see, this is a very easy fly, especially if you want to tie like before you go out or something like that. You could easily whip up, you know, 3 of these in under 20 minutes or, you know, under 50. It's like 5 minutes of fly, if not. I'm chatting right now, so it's taking longer, but if I really wanted to, I could tie these probably like in like 3 or 4 minutes or something like that. You know, it's not a very complicated fly, but again, this is, you got that little black dot on there. You could take a Sharpie, you could always hit an end black or something. I generally keep them red or yellow, or red or orange. I don't really worry too much about if they, what do you call it? If they're, they have like the black head on them, for instance, you know what I mean? But, oh, we'll keep tying. I do want to make a video specifically on cinderworm hatches, so that might be one of our larger videos that'll come out at some point in May, because I the idea is last year I wasn't able to get good footage because it was like happening at night. So I'm gonna bring some GoPros, try and film on my phone. It's the hardest thing about making fishing videos, as opposed to fly time videos, is I have to like physically stop fishing when it's amazing fishing and film. So that's the rough part, is like putting down my fly rod for a sec or sticking it in my basket and taking out my phone and like filming for 10 minutes or something. Yeah, you could use black foam. I would generally use black foam, but I think they wanted like a red foam color. But yes, I had a lot of black foam. I still have a lot of black foam, and what I generally do is I will do a red body all around and I'll tie a black foam. Or what I'll do is, because I have the sticky foam, I'll do red on the inside and black on top, and do it like that, for instance. But they wanted these more red, so that's why I'm doing it this way. But you can use whatever you like. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's freaking pitch black half the time anyway, or it's getting super dark, so. Like, you could tie these pink, you could probably tie these in orange, or obviously orange, or you could probably even tie them in yellow or something weird like that. It's probably a lot of how you're fishing it. Or you could tie these in purple. I bet you could tie these in purple, even though the worms aren't really purple. Needs more rubber legs. No. You definitely could do rubber legs on cinderworm flies, but they don't have, like, rubber legs. You know what I mean? Their legs are extremely small. You wouldn't even be able to, like, see them. I don't even know if they're considered to be legs or if they're considered to be some other biological trait. Whatever those things are on their sides. Now, what you're missing from your cinderworm flies are googly eyes. Obviously. If you're not putting googly eyes on them, why would they eat it? Do like a ridiculous cinderworm fly where it's like a hollow tied bunker with like... Now, Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid is the way I like cinderworm stuff. I mean, I will say the articulated fly is kind of overly complicated, but that does really seem to work pretty good. The cinderworm game changer, essentially. But that being said, this sort of fly is going to cover you the majority of the time in your cinder endeavors, I believe. They are fast, but again, they kind of just dart around randomly. It's not really intentional. Excuse me. So they'll end up like doing these figure 8 movements and these circles, and they'll hit the grass and like, you know what I mean? So I find though, if you try and zoom your fly around, you don't really seem to catch as many fish as opposed to if you like twitch it or something. And the idea is maybe the worm got like hit or like grabbed by a bass but didn't get eaten, so it's I don't know what but I've tried the fast retrieves and stuff, and it doesn't seem to get me as many fish as slower retrieves in those scenarios, oddly enough, because they do zoom around. They're zipping and zooming pretty quick, but again, it's like in a random unpredictable motion, so it's very hard to kind of replicate that. That's the tricky part. It's like they're doing like all these crazy things, and not all of them. Sometimes some of them are going slower, some are moving faster. Like it's random too. It's not like they're robots, you know. They're individual worms. Keep dropping my foam. But no matter what, it's interesting. And again, I'm happy that it seems like the worm hatches I fish now are very productive, because I've been in some worm hatch scenarios where, man, the fish do not cooperate at all. Could be the, I don't know, the amount of worms, because there are some worm hatches I've seen where there's so many worms that it's seems unlikely you're actually going to have fish that see your fly at that point. Yo, Zeke, what's going on? How was the fishing? Give us the fishing report for the day. How'd you make out? You get any? Again, keep it pretty. This one could be cut down a little again. It's a little chunky. Every part of me wants to make the foam smaller, but they want them bigger, so. All right. Not today, cold and windy, and found some bunker. See, even though I didn't come, your boat knew I was coming. And I put the bad juju on you. I didn't even need to go on the boat for you to not catch fish. You were doing so good. It's like every time I went with Zeke last year or whatever, there's like no fish, and they were there like the day before or something or whatever, as usual. Seems to be the case with me in general, but well, I got a ton of fly tying done today, and I have a ton more to do, so it's good that I got some of this stuff done today, so. But I'll have to join you soon. There's a new moon coming up, Zeke, on the 12th or something. Tonight's the full moon, but if you want to join me, let's what do you call it? You could either come to my place and park, and we take your truck, or we take my car, or whatever, but because there's limited parking in this little residential area. But I got the cinderworm spot, dude. We got to hit it up on the new moon. It's coming up. I need someone to go fishing with me too, so I can film the action for some videos. So it's going to be coming up in the middle of the month. So we'll have to plan that out, because this spot is very consistent when it comes to good bass fishing with the cinderworms. So it's probably my best spot at trying to make a video on it. This is giving me I gotta use my hands here and force it. I'm gonna coat it thoroughly in super glue and then head cement, so make it nice and durable. But again, you know, you can't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what I say, you know what I mean? Just works. Yo, Jay, what's going on? Well, I sold these. I just dropped off. It was like half a dozen floating ones. They sold out like that day. And then I dropped off like 18 subsurface cinderworms. So there's definitely a hatch happening out east. But the one that we have, I think there's probably one maybe happening tonight as it's full moon. But it's going to be the new moon in a couple weeks. The one we usually stream or whatever we get footage at is the same pond. It's like the middle of May we get that hatch. So we'll see. I haven't caught a striped bass yet. I wouldn't be surprised. I might end up being the first bass I catch. Hopefully not. But I think that's what it was last year. First bass I caught that year was what do you call it? Well, we might have got some fish on swinning some flatwings I don't remember. That might have been in that one video. Swin and the Flatwings might have got some fish before that. We had like 1 or 2 fish in this one spot where we like to go, where the current moves. Okay. Let's see. Is it hookah lounge time? We'll take a... Let's tie in one more. Let's tie one more. By the way, what are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, let's do this and we'll have half a dozen of these cinders done. I wouldn't mind, you know what? What we could do is we could spend the other half of the stream. Let's tie some cinders for my own fly box, just so I make sure I have some. Because it is going to be coming up soon, so... And let's say anyone does join us, whether it's Zeke or like last year, Max from Predator Prey came out. We got to have some extra flies as well in case anyone else shows up or something. Excuse me. It's been slow by you? Yeah, apparently there's been some sick fishing on the other end of the bay for me. In a very similar sort of thing, but a much bigger creek. So with more water flow. So that spot is always pretty good early in the year. But then there's also been some fish in the ocean, I guess. Like there's been... like bass blitzing on bunker or peanut bunker in the on the ocean front, but on the eastern side of Long Island or further east. So I saw some dudes I know posting photos of bass in the surf and some video of like bass chasing bunker or something. But I wish that would. It never seems to be my side of the bay or my side of the ocean or the inlet, I should say. It's always the one side that I need to drive 45 minutes to. You bust out any rabbit strips? Not yet, but we might. We'll probably end up tying some pink ones because again, I don't really care about the color as much as the movement. And I don't have any red or I might have orange rabbit, but I don't have any red rabbit, so I will definitely just use pink and maybe use some red marabou or something. Again, the color is less important to me, as opposed to what it looks like in the water, and how it swims, I should say. Unfortunately, I don't know if I have any ton of these nice little articulated shanks, but we'll take a look. We'll go digging in the box after this, and we'll see what I have. And worst case, we'll tie some normal ones. But I do need to order some stuff from Chris at Saltwater Flies, and maybe... Fortunately, I don't think he has like the little shanks, but... Worst case, I'll get them from like JS Fly Fishing or somewhere. Go with a little shorter marabou on the bottom. Dirty Jersey has been good, just don't have time to go over there. Yeah. Yep. Like, fishing's always good in a lot of these spots, but I would also have some pretty good local fishing. But my local fishing, like, on my side of the bay, has just not been as good. And it could be a whole mix of things, but it also is just a lot, a lot of times we get smaller fish back here, schooly fish and stuff. And there's just less of those fish around, so. There's also been some, like... In a lot of these ponds here on Long Island, they just put out warnings. They found flesh-eating bacteria, and like they had to do shellfish closures and warnings about having open wounds on your skin here on Long Island in a lot of the bays. So there's definitely issues with water quality that we have out here from algae and all sorts of stuff. A lot of it's leaky cesspools and Scott's Lawn Care is the issue. It's really the top fed fertilizer that all these landscaping companies pump out, and then it rains, it washes right in the bay. So, and then it creates these like dirty conditions with the brown algae, and then you get these bacterias and stuff growing. And make your own shanks. I know I've seen a lot of people talk about making your own shanks. I have stainless steel welding wire, TIG welding wire, which seems like it could work, but again, I feel like I would need the right like little plier tools. I do have some, so I mean we could try. I don't know what I did with one of the wires, but we could try and like, I think I have some sort of wire that might work, because we're not attaching any hooks. We're just like, we'll see what we got. But I know some folks here in the chat make their own shanks. It doesn't even need to really be that structurally sound, to be honest with you. For what I need, at least, for this particular. So I have stainless steel welding wire for a TIG machine, and it's a pretty, it's like a solid piece of, it's a solid piece, but it's, I think it also has like a coating on it or something for welding, so I don't even know if I want to use something like that, but we'll take a look. We'll see what we got. I don't know if I'm going to go rooting around for wire to make shanks, but that's something we could do a video on, is making your own shanks, because some folks have talked about it before and have said I should do it. Yeah, the flesh-eating bacteria keeps the yuppies out. Hell yeah. Well, the great thing is that near a lot of these places, I was commercially clamming for the past however many years, and guess what? When you work with steamer clams every day or whatever, or regular clams, you constantly cut your hands. So I think a shell fisherman just actually died recently here on Long Island from the, not the flesh-eating thing, but or it's similar, but I forgot the name of the bacteria. This is the reason why they make their shellfish enclosures. It's a certain name of this bacteria that ends up in the clams, or that could kill you. I forgot the name of it though. But so they always they told us, you know, you should wear gloves and this and that, the DEC says, but you know, most of these guys, they didn't care. You just end up cutting your hands. But you'd pull out like a dead steamer out of the ground that was all rotten. I'm like, dude, this seems like this seems where like I feel like I get some flesh eating some flesh eating something from, you know what I mean? Fishing, you're okay. Just don't like drink the creek water. It was just when I was working out there, you know what I mean? I was like, oof. That being said, having your water be that effed up water quality wise, not good for the fishing either. You know what I mean? It might keep the yuppies out, but it also, I think, is one of the reasons why I'm seeing less bass in some of these spots, is the water quality is so terrible. There's just less oxygen when you end up with all this brown algae in the water. It becomes anaerobic in some of these places. So in a couple months, some of these ponds are going to be disgusting. It's going to be full of green algae blooms that ends up dying, turns anaerobic, and then full of brown algae, and every time you go in the water, you're going to get a rash on your arms and stuff. It's like not good. Especially some of these like areas where the mansions are, it's hilarious because there's like these $1 million houses. That's some of the areas where like it's some of the dirtiest creeks and waters, because there's just really no water flow back there. And this is where all the, you know, it's like millions of dollars in landscaping where they're just like constantly dumping fertilizer all over these green grasses. And these people can't even go in the water, and they're like $10 million houses. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. But what are you gonna do? We're lucky. For the most part, the bay that I'm in is very healthy here on Long Island. But there are some areas, particularly further back in the bay, that you do need to watch out. The water gets pretty nasty in the summertime. And some of these spots, you'll only catch fish earlier in the year, where there's generally like habitable water, you would think, at least. Because at a certain point it gets, especially in the Peconic, some of these areas, it looks like the water turns like a putrid green, you know, and it's like, we were bunker fishing in some of these spots, and like you would end up with like these rashes on your arms from the algae. So I'm like, I don't even know how a fish could live in this water, dude. It's so nasty. Pollution's the main reason you don't get into golf. The ironic thing, there's a golf course right there. But what do you call it? Yeah. I spent a lot of time bunker fishing on the Peconic River. And that is... I'll tell you right now, you'll see condoms, like, floating down the water, needles and stuff, like... That place is something else. But there's some phenomenal fish in there. You'll see bunker schools piled up with bass on them. It's crazy. But during the summertime, like, the fishing just completely... Even the bunker end up dying because there's no oxygen. That's why they allowed us to bunker fish there. But I'm not doing that crap anymore, so... They were opposed to it at the start, but then bunkers started getting driven up there from bluefish, and there was no oxygen, so they would all die, and then they had this mass kill of bunker right where there's like a boardwalk, and everyone walks, and there's all this like businesses and stuff, and they had this it's like thousands of pounds, probably not millions, it was like definitely thousands and thousands of pounds of dead bunker. And yeah, needless to say, after that, they were like, okay, you can bunker fish in the river. There's definitely more bunker than we thought there were in this river. Lots closed clamming areas way in the back already. Yeah. Normally, it would be oysters. They oyster in April, I think. Oh, they'll oyster through up until April. And there's some areas back here that got closed and stuff. But, you know, again, dude, I see it. Like, even the house next to me has a giant green grass lawn, and the landscapers come every week. They dump fertilizer all over. Then the pest control comes. They spray freaking pesticides all over the place. Like, I'm sitting up here with my windows open. You can smell it immediately. I, like, slam the windows down. But so all this, I think this is one house out of how many tens or like hundreds of thousands of houses on Long Island that people do this stuff. All that stuff ends up washing into the bay, you know? So you get this beautiful concoction of that, all the crap that normally washes out from a road, motor oil, everything else. And then you have the, what do you call it? The algae blooms from just the nitrogen richness that comes from these top-fed fertilizer lawns when it rains. And if you have a ton of nitrogen constantly, that's not necessarily the worst thing. You'll find some of the best clamming in areas near sewage treatment plants because there's a steady flow of nitrogen flowing out. But it's when you have big dumps of nitrogen at once, you have these mass blooms of green algae. Green algae is not even necessarily the worst, but it's the fact that the green algae can't survive because there's only so much nitrogen. They eat up all the nitrogen after it rains in a short amount of time, and then they die. And then the green algae becomes anaerobic or starts rotting on the bottom of the bay or the creeks. And the other issue is you have brown algae. Brown algae also, what do you call it? Hatches or spawns, or I don't know what you would call it, and thrives in those situations with the nitrogen. And then the brown algae survives for a lot longer because it has like a hardened husk or shell. And the brown algae also leads to a lot of like skin irritations and like low oxygen quality, and it irritates fish's gills, things like that. Yo, Brew, thank you so much, brother. I'm just ranting about algae. Boo for algae! But cheer for Brew! Yo, thank you, Brew. Appreciate it. I hope you're doing well, dude. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the support. Very long time, too. How long? Let us see. 76 months. Sheesh. Thank you so much, dude. Crazy. Craziness. Get some LI Flies hearts or some Albie emotes in the chat. Yo, Doyle, what's up? In your subsurface flies video, I noticed that you used tactical angler's clip to attach your flies to the leader. You only do this when it's colder all year, so I tested them. I think they're good. They seem to work pretty good for like plugs and stuff. Here's the thing. When I fished them with a fly, because of the motion of us going back and forth, I had multiple flies that found somehow, just through the oddity of casting 1,000 times, the clip, the like loop of the hook or the hook eye somehow slowly started working its way through the clip, and I'm not even I was casting this beautiful ostrich hurl. We tied it live on stream, and I just put it on and I casted maybe like 10 15 times, and the thing went flying off the clip, and I watched it just go soaring into the, like into the bay. And I had it happen on another fly where a fly came off while just casting. So I have a friend that's a guide that uses them in the much larger size for giant bunker flies, and I was using a smaller size for with smaller flies. But after I lost that pink ostrich hurl hollow fly, that was the one where I said, nope, I'm never using these again for fly fishing. So that was the issue. I had a fly physically just go flying off the tactical angulars clip. So I think they're great for certain situations. But, and again, if you're throwing a 12-inch bunker fly, you're not casting that over and over again. You're going to flip it off the side of the boat, for instance, right? So I think if you're doing, like, spin fishing or something, it's fine. But with fly fishing, I don't think it's worth it. We tried another one. I think a good one that the Rio makes one, where it's got a round piece of metal, but like twisted hard wire end that you tie to, and then it has like this like clip that you unfold and then you lock it back or something. I forgot what it's called. It's called the fly clip from Rio. Those worked okay, but they were like almost too big. They were like intrusive. So you know what? As much as I would love to like be lazy and not have to retie my leaders, and not have to cut the front section off and like keep tying new leader sections on and then have to retie the whole leader, it's way more peace of mind to do a non-slip mono loop knot or whatever, and just know that it's we're good there, at least, you know what I mean? So with clips, you definitely get what you pay for, but you've never been a fan either. Yeah, I mean the tactical anglers clips are, I forgot if they're like, I don't think they're made. Well, they're endorsed by what's his name, Alberto, and I know a bunch of guys that use, like, they're decent clips for that. People catch big ass bass on them, spin fishing, throwing plugs and stuff, but I think the design of it is not ideal for fly casting is the issue. You know what I mean? That's the issue. All right, did we end up tying 6? We did. Okay, cool. We could take our hookah lounge break. I forgot. I used to use these quick snaps to attach lures or whatever without trying, but you also lose a lot of feel and also catch a lot of weeds. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, there was these classic black clips you would buy with the yellow packaging, the yellow packaging with the black letters. What's the name of that? They sell like porgy rigs and striper rigs up here in the Northeast. They've been around forever. But you could buy like these little clips, and they're like just black clips, and they have like the molded frame where it's like it almost looks like it looks like a paper clip, but with like a molded end, and you can just push it in and pops out. It's like a safety pin. It's a safety pin connection, if you will. You know what I'm talking about with those safety pins where you push them in and they lock in? Those sort of clips. We use that for like my entire childhood growing up with spin fishing. Then you just get them in different pound tests or different wire tests for plugs and stuff. And that was like back in the 90s. That was, we didn't have like fancy ass fishing clips. People just used what you had at the hardware, or at the stop. Duo Locks, was that the name of it? That sounds similar. I forgot the name of the company, the like yellow packaging. They would always sell like fishing rigs and things, you know what I mean? There's another brand that would always sell they would have the porgy rig, the striper rig, the bluefish rig with the float, you know what I'm talking about? Is that the same company we're talking about? It might be. Let me look. What if I do Bluefish Rig? Yes! Tide Right. That's the name of it. Oh, you guys can't see. Hold on. Hold on. It's the same damn packaging and the same exact thing that it's been for the how many years since I was a little kid. This right here. So they would sell, I believe this was like the same company or the same tackle. They would have like the clips. Strike fin, is it strike fin? I'm pretty sure it's this, right? Isn't this it? Or is this a copy or something? Because there's the Sea Striker one. But it's this like yellow packaging rig. Tide Right fishing rigs. Yeah, these are it, dude. At least these are the ones that I always saw in my local tackle shops out here on the east end of Long Island. This is the same packaging that's been around since the 90s, I feel like. And they would have porgy, flounder, fluke, striped bass. You know, they even have shark rigs. They have, like, fluke with the teasers and stuff. But this is the clip right here. This is the clip that you would fish with, and I fished with, like, my entire life. These very basic sort of, you'd pop it like that, and it just pops right out. Yeah, I remember buying these cod ones, too, with the skirts and stuff. They had these fluke ones. It was back before I fly tied and stuff. Or they had the spinner ones. Look, they even have blowfish ones. How hilarious is that? But this right here, just looking at this bluefish one, is just nostalgia. Going into a tackle shop in the Northeast as a kid. Am I the only ones? Do you folks remember these back in like the 90s and stuff? It's the same exact packaging. And I think they would sell terminal tackle as well in the tackle shops from this brand, or at least similar. But anyways. Yeah, these were the flounder hooks. You'd get these really long, like, style hooks. You would get these really, really long hooks like that for the fluke and flounder, which is interesting. Like, that's actually pretty cool. You get the tandem fluke setup. You only know Strike King from down south? Yeah, you remember these, Neves? I just remember these things have been around forever. We used to use these, but like back when we were bucket fishermen, me and my dad, and I didn't know anything about fly fishing. We would buy like, you know, like a porgy rig or something like that, you know. The one thing I will say about these things I hate seeing, you will see these porgy rigs everywhere. People like just throw these things on the ground once they get all tangled. That's the one thing I always hate. You still have them rusting in your parents' garage? Hell yeah, I definitely have some of these rusting in a tackle box somewhere, for sure. For sure. All right. That was our nostalgia for the afternoon. Okay. So, I guess before we take a break, let me look. I don't even know if I have any shanks. Oh, there's our rabbit strips right there. Good to go. Also got some pink foam if we want it. Let's see. Do I have any small shanks? I think I used them all for the for last year's cinderworm stuff, so it's a good chance I might just need to buy some more. Well, there's a definite chance I need to buy some more because I definitely don't have that many. Or any, possibly. So we don't need to do any shanks at the moment. We'll just, we can always look in another box or something when we get back, but I just wanted to look real quick. Unfortunately, I don't think And we got a 15 mil. They're a little big, but you know what? We could always take, even if we just take one 15 mil and stick it off the back so it kind of swings around, or maybe we'll do two. We got a couple shanks we could use. Okay, chat, we're going to take a quick break here, and when I get back, we're going to be tying some cinder worms for my fly box and out for the fly shops. So I appreciate everybody hanging out. And don't forget, post some stuff in the Discord. We'll take a look at the end of the stream here, of course. Or make sure to remind me, but I've been good. I've been remembering every time. So, all right, we'll take a quick little break here, though, and we'll be back in just a moment, chat. Appreciate you hanging out, and I'll be back in just a minute. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Stay tight, alright? Yeah, keep it tight. Yeah, dude. Yeah, Aiden. Knuckle buster. Are you good? Do you need me to do anything?
Yeah, I might need a ride. Yes.
Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna turn now.
I'm gonna try and get on the bow.
Yeah, get on the bow. Alright, you're doing good. Keep doing your thing. I'm gonna move us away.
Is that a little one?
No, that's a nice one.
Oh, let's go!
Come here, hold next to your alley. Good job.
That's sick.
Alright. Nice.
Let's go! Woo! Albie slap!
Good job, dude.
Yee!
Looking down the barrel of a 12 gauge little toonie, bro. And the albacore too. You're taking good like that.
Oh my god, dude!
All right. Back to some tying. So, We'll take a look. We got some recommendations for some building some shanks. We'll take a look at that in the future. That'd be a fun video. For now, we got the Fish Skull by Flyman Co. Shank. There's a little 15 mil. We could go double 15 mil. Stick to a small hook. That should work. The other thing you could do is you could take them. Kind of sucks, but you could take them and cut them so you get a short one. And then you could attach them together like that, which, screw it. Just for fun, we're going to do that. I'll show you my patented Regal Vice technique. If you want to break a shank like this. Stick it in there. We should be able to bend it back and forth. So now we have a little tip, little end. Small little guy. We don't want to go flying out of the vise. But we're just going to tie a tiny little tuft. Oh, and never mind, it's gone. Okay, let's just combine a regular shank. Where that went, God only knows. Hopefully it didn't end up in my White Claw. That was hilarious. What would be funny is going back in slow-mo and seeing that thing flying out of the vise at like 15,000 miles per hour. They don't joke around when it comes to the to how strong the Regal is, I'll tell you that much. We're gonna go with a little black at the tip and black at the head. Use some Senos. And I just pretty much go it's very simple, dude. I kind of like lazily V-tie this stuff. Is my technique, is the way I call it. And then do some light trimming, if that. But again, it's like a worm fly, so I don't like try and make it perfect because it's like a worm, you know? So it has some irregularities to it. I don't mind if it's a little imperfect. If that makes sense. And it's not like something you gotta spend a ton of time on either. You just kind of slap some material on there, fold her back, wrap on top. It's like a lazy V-tie. Like so. Now, we'll leave a gap there. Throw a little super glue on it. This is like a very quick and simple version of the articulated one that we tie. I like the 10 mil shanks. The 10 mil are my favorite. The 5s are like pretty darn small. The 10s is you can work with somewhat easily. But again, very simple. At the end, we'll brush it all out too, which is a satisfying thing. You take a piece of mono or wire. This is how we'll attach it to the shank. Sometimes I'll use the shank. Just if I didn't have wire on hand, I'd do that in one of the videos. Doesn't really matter how you're doing it. It's the same way either way. Whatever's the most convenient thing for you, you know? So again, I kind of like veil it like this. You could totally V-tie it one at a time and like get it nice and perfect. But again, I'm not as worried about it. We're just going to build up the body here with some V-ties. And again, the worms in my area are pretty small for the one hatch I fish quite regularly, so I don't need a very, like, big worm fly, for instance. So I can use, like, pretty short material and stuff for the most part. But best thing is look at the worms in your area. Because if you can't see the worms, or, you know, there's no worm hatch, and there's no point in tearing your hair out trying to get a perfect worm fly for the hatch that's happening in your area. You could just fish like a generic worm pattern. Try different sizes. But not every salt pond will have worm hatches and stuff, right? It's only certain do, only certain have certain times of the year. It can be very hit or miss with worm hatches. And it's not always on the moon, too. I've had them where they, like, the peak of the hatch seemed to happen before the moon, and then the moon happened, and the worms were, like, seemingly gone. It was strange. Definitely some mystery to the whole worm stuff. Well, I tell you what, I've made a mess of my desk. There's like red marabou stuff everywhere I have to get rid of so it doesn't get mixed in with the kinky muddler stuff. And I think at this point, this is where we just want to attach it to the hook because, again, I'm not going for... Well, let's see. The fly is going to be something like that long. We can go with one more shank. It's a little bit larger than I normally would like, but that's okay. Just put a little super glue on there. Excuse me. I have to remember to mute before sneezing this time. I was sitting out back today and I had, you could see the thing, like the little opening petals of the pollen starting to come out, or like the sacs or whatever. So I'm enjoying sitting outside in the sun while I still can. I take a break in between tying, sit outside for like 5 minutes. But at some point here, in May and June, it just turns into a straight up just yellow pollen 24/7. I'm already starting to get a little stuffed up. But I have to like sit outside, like covering my tea. Otherwise, the pollen just like gets all in. Oh, excuse me. Oh, it's funny. I didn't have allergies too when I was younger, but nowadays it seems like it affects me. Okay. We'll go with a little bit longer ram's wool in this section. I can always trim it if need be. The ram's wool is nice. I like ram's wool for this sort of stuff too. It has some buoyancy to it. Some nice material for this. So like I said, instead of throwing out the material, I'll keep it. Yo, what's going on, Liam? Caught my first bass on a cinderworm hatch on Wednesday night. What a buzz. Oh, hell yeah, dude. That's awesome. Were you fly fishing or? Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, the local shop I just tied a bunch for, they just sold out. They must be having some action out there. The one we usually fish is it's going to be happening in like a week or two. There might even be something happening tonight. It's a full moon tonight, but it's usually the new moon that's in this one pond that pops off. Oh, it's from Ken? Oh, okay, nice. Well, we tied a bunch more for Ken, so I have to tie another. I'm trying to get at least a dozen or dozen and a half more, but it's funny. He wanted them longer and with more foam. I usually tie them smaller and with less foam because I fish somewhere in the Peconic usually for this, at least for this. There's this one pond I usually fish with this hatch, and they're very particular. So I have to make the lips smaller, and the flies can't be too long, otherwise they just won't eat them. But maybe the ones out over in that way. I fished a couple worm hatches out that way, like North Sea and stuff, but there's like one pond I usually fish now. There's some that happen where I am in HB, but I live like right near a beautiful salt pond. You would think it would be like the best place for a worm hatch, but there's none, unfortunately. Let's brush this sucker out. Yep, we're gonna have some more flies for him. So I'm glad we put him to use, or you put him to use. Any size to him? You getting some decent ones, or any decent ones caught? Past couple years, I've been getting some like. There's been some nice ones mixed in. Okay, now we can attach this sucker. Man, pollen screwing me up. All right. I do like these 2-aught Gamakatsus. These are what we use. These are very, 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 very nice hooks. Yeah, he mentioned, yep. I'm adding a little bit more foam. He said they weren't floating as good, but that's usually how I tie them. They usually float no problem, so I made sure to beef them up a little bit for him. What are we... I need some way of attaching this. I also knocked something over recently with my feathers, and I think my wire's in here. Why don't we use this? We could use mono, but I have some wire here. And this will be nice and strong. As long as it fits in here decent, yeah. There's no hook on here, so we don't have to like run it through the hook eye. We're just gonna attach it like this. Oh man, I need to like go blow my nose now or something. Stupid pollen. Alright. Yeah, this is the fancy version of what you're... This is an articulated, like, game changer. But as you know, you don't need this. So for when you wonder, like, I want to spend even more time my flies. But it is very fancy and nice. Okay. Got our tail on there. Yeah, it's interesting. The area I fish, they're generally like very like there's only a very particular size. A lot of them are like this big where I fish. This right here. And they're not much bigger than this in terms of the length. But he was mentioning that he wanted them like around 3 inches, which is this is what like about the size that this fly is going to be. This is like almost the max size that you'll see of that particular species of worms. But one thing that we found out over the years is that people will call every type of worm spawn a cinder worm hatch or whatever. So there's many similar worm species that could be spawning throughout different times of year in different ponds. So it might not even be the traditional cinder worm species that everyone calls, because it's like a certain genus of worm, the cinder worm, but there's a lot of like, or a certain type of worm, but there's a lot of worms that are in similar that look very similar, vice versa. I think we're just gonna stick with the rams. Screw it, I'm gonna throw in some marabou just for fun. Because there are many, many, many types of worm species. Actually, you know what? I don't like the marabou. I'm going to keep this marabou off to the side for later. I use the little tuft here to cover up the wraps. That works. We're going to stick with the ram's wool, though. We'll do one collar ram's wool now, and then we'll do our gurgler head. Like so. Go ahead and brush this out real quick before we put the foam on there. You love worms in your garden? You love their poop? Hell yeah. The plants love it, that's for certain. These worms are a little different, but they're good for the plants that are growing, I'm sure, in one way or another in the estuaries. I don't know for the same reason, but maybe. What's going on, Thunder? How's it going, dude? All right. Gurgler. I'll cut the thickness of the head the way I usually like fishing them. I don't like them super, 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 super poppery. I fish really thin lawn leaders with or fish the lawn leaders too, so the flies generally float good. I'm gonna have to get up and blow my nose. Those freaking allergies are killing me. I'm just being lazy. Damn it. Some of the foam stuck to the Regal. There we go. Beautiful anodized finish, or anodized, or freaking powder coated. I don't know what, but man, I love this vice head. Got a little resin on there too. I got to get off. It's a workhorse. It's a working vice. It's not a showpiece. You know what I mean? It's like a snap-on toolbox. Makes me money. Well, howdy back. Howdy back. Hope everything's going well for you guys. Hopefully you're staying cool. It's not too warm. Hopefully it's like it's probably the nice time of year for you guys. Before it gets too hot. My neighbor's like backing up a freaking landscaping truck or something. It's like yelling back there. Alright. Got a little bit of ram's wool here. Yo, Craig, what's going on? Got a nice striper the other day. Headed out this morning for some more. Very nice. Love hearing it. Are there other fish eating worms that a striper would also eat? Are you talking about other bait that eat the worms? No, it really just seems like the stripers. It's not even like you won't see like, at least I've never seen like bluefish partaking or, you know, other species of fish. It seems like really the stripers focus on it. Maybe there's other fish, like maybe sea robins get involved. I don't know. But, and it doesn't mean that like you can't catch a striped bass on a 5-inch, you know, peanut bunker fly when they're eating worms. But there's not like other stuff that's actively in the mix. It's mostly just the bass and the worms that you see. Maybe some birds or something. But no, there's no other like bait fish or other fish eating that or whatever. At least for the most part. Maybe there are that I don't know about. Love the Regal. Yeah, I know, me too. I didn't have a floating line on it also, so last minute and those foam flies floated well. Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, even if you don't have a foam fly... Wait, hold on. Let me see what your name is again. Liam. Even if you don't have a foam fly, or even if you don't have a floating line, use a Lawner leader and then just keep some tension in the line so it doesn't sink as much as you're stripping it, and just keep it like a very slow strip. So here's the, if you see them, are they boiling on the surface? Are you getting that sort of action going on? The best thing I can tell you is, instead of blind casting, it's almost better to just cast shorter and then wait. And then, like, pick your line up. So this is where having a floating line really helps. Pick your line up and drop the fly right where the boil is. And I'm telling you, if you haven't, it's like a little game you can play, but you'd be surprised how often these fish either miss the worm or they will turn back and look again or something. But many, many times I've, the way I fish nowadays with worm hatches in the one pond I fish, it's like I'm sight fishing boils and I'm sight fishing bass a lot of times. It's really cool. So try that out as well if you haven't. Or for future worm hatches if it's done now. Yeah, no, bunker are filter feeders. You could catch a bunker in the mouth, but you're catching it by accident. Bunker are filter feeders, so they don't eat other prey or anything like that. Herring and shad, they will eat other stuff. But I've never seen like a shad in a worm blitz. Doesn't mean they're not, but I've just never seen one. But bunker are filter feeders, so they don't actually eat any bait. They're like a whale almost, you know? They eat through their gills. Through plankton and stuff. You caught a bunker on a mayfly nymph? Yeah, it's more so probably just random luck or something like that, you know what I mean? Or just them opening their mouths or whatever and filter feeding. I've had a bunker hooked in the mouth on a fly, but again, I think it was more of a case of me like lining it or something, you know what I mean? As opposed to it eating anything. Because according to their biology, they shouldn't be eating anything, but, you know, who knows? That's why you'll see them just swimming on the surface and opening their mouths like that. Secret to catching big fish is a corn fly. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. So I'm going to trim this down because this is a little thick for my liking. But I'm going to still keep it pretty chunky. But I'm going to taper it down, especially towards the back because the worms taper. Like so. Also, we want these shanks to have some room to breathe. So they actually can articulate, like so. It's pretty important, actually, that you thin it down. Especially with this sort of material, right? It all depends what you're using, but we're using ram's wool. Should be quite buoyant and cleany, if you will. Okay. There we go. An articulated cinderworm fly. Do you think they outperform the sinking cinderworm fly? So I think what it is that the worms are spending the majority of their time on the surface during the peak activity, or just below the surface. So I think if you have a fly that spends more of its time in the strike zone, you're going to do better. That's really all it is a case of. Because there are times where it's going to be harder to keep a subsurface fly, even with a floating line and a long leader. If you're like truly trying to dead drift it, it will sink naturally, right? So if you have a fly that you can keep in the area where the fish are, and that's where they're looking. They're looking up towards the surface, really. You know what I mean? So I think you're just keeping the fly in the area there the whole time. What's going on, Brundleflies? Have you ever read the book Blues by John Hershey? Is that how you say it? Talks about bunker. Great book. No, I haven't. I'll need to take a look sometime. Once the light died, the bass were definitely less picky. It was hard to choose where to cast because it was all bubbles and bass swirling, but I will not complain about that. Yeah, so just like what we'll do a lot of times is I'll like hang out and like, because I'll blind cast and catch fish, but I'll wait. And because they boil so often, I'll just wait. I'll see a boil. I'll pick my line up, drop it right on there, twitch it, and it's like I seemingly either catch that fish or I'm catching the fish that was right behind it. Because they'll like kind of, one will swirl and another one will try and grab the one that it missed or something. You know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. So it seems like, though, they will come back to the same boil. Or like the same worm. Maybe they're trying to get it and the thing's moving all over the place like figure eights. I don't know. So that seems to work very well for me. Is waiting for a boil and picking it up and dropping it. So, because I'll fish with other people that are just blind casting over and over and over again, and I will like consistently seemingly do better with strikes. So just something to think about and try when you're out there cinderworm fishing. So all right. Not bad. I like it. We got our articulated cinderworm. A little bit longer than I would like to fish normally. So what I would do is this. On the water, if I find that it's a little too long, I'll like cut the tip off like this. This is how I fish them. Because I don't want them to go like chug chug. I want them to just be like a light wake that gets kicked up, like a V almost. And if I need to, I can always like pinch the material or whatever. But this is about more like the absolute max size that you might see them. So even just this little like couple millimeters can make a difference at times between them wanting to eat or not. It's really, it could be weird. It doesn't mean you won't catch them, but you could do far better if you're in that like approximate ballpark of like the actual size that these cinderworm or these particular worms. And again, it's different worm species for different areas, right? So different ponds can have different ones, and people just generally tend to all call them cinderworms, even though there's many types of worm species that are very similar. So I was talking about Mark Sadati to it because he was talking to this other dude. They wrote an article back in the day about cinderworms, and this was like early on in cinderworm. Like, this was like when it started, like, partially because of that article and Mark doing research with some other people, this wasn't a very, like, well talked about known thing, like, back in the 90s or something until, it started being brought up more or whatever. So, very interesting stuff for sure. All right. I need to go blow my nose real quick, though, chat, because I've been sitting here like an asshole the whole time. Give me 1 sec. 1 second. All right. So, let's tie a rabbit strip gurgler because you know what? I haven't made enough of a mess. So let's work with some rabbit strips because surely we can get even more micro material floating in the air. Luckily, these are pre-cut, so that's actually not that bad. But, like, opening up a bag of rabbit strips that hasn't been opened up before is like a death sentence. You're just going to get light material floating everywhere. Get all over the computers, everything. And we're going to keep it simple. Nice and simple. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any nice, strong pieces of mono to use as a an extension. I guess, you know, screw it. We'll just take a little bit more wire or something and just do a loop. Do I not have any hard mono or something? Thought I had a little bit of Mason's hard mono specifically for weed yards, but might have ended up using them all specifically for like bonefish stuff. I mean, I got 100 pound. Guess we could use 100 pound. That'll work, I guess. Do you think we could poke the rabbit strip with the 100 pound and it'll actually break through? Probably not, right? No, I need to make a hole first. First off. So do something like this. Make a hole. This mono's pretty stiff. Might be able to get it through there. I'm just trying not to... Damn Windows noise. Apologies for that. That was my Windows. Windows did not find any viruses. Well, great. Thanks. I'm glad for the loud alert for the status quo. Appreciate that. There we go. And then all you do, even though this was already quite hard to get through there because it's 100 pound. So hopefully I have a lighter that actually has lighter fluid in it. Oh, come on. Just once. Cheap Chinese lighters, dude. I need a good American Bic. What the hell is this? Alright, well, what I'll do is downstairs, off stream, is you burn the tip of the mono so it becomes a ball end, and that way it doesn't break, it doesn't slip through. We'll just leave it for now. I'll do it off stream. I finally ran out of lighter fluid on that because I use that for fly tying, specifically that lighter, so finally ran out though. I'm going to use the orange thread. Screw it. I might even use red marabou and stuff with the pink. I'm not very particular when it comes to it. I want it to be something. Give myself extra length on the mono. It's going to be something like, because the ball end's not going to be very long either. It's going to be... Pull this in like this. We can wrap this down. So I can burn that later. Doesn't matter. Am I tripping right now? Yeah, it should be right. It's just super long right now, just solely because I need to burn the end. That's why. So what we could do is let's leave this like this. I'm going to end up tying this somewhere over here. And we're going to get kind of fancy with it. Do like a Zonker-esque sort of thing. But I mean, we're going to cover it in foam anyway, so like... what's the point, but I don't know, whatever. We're just having fun. Now this is a much softer foam. This is not as good as like the sticky sided foam. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double it up with some red. Oop. I'm just going to break out the vacuum after it once I get done streaming here soon. I got a vacuum anyway. Cut you, get you nice and straight. You. Alright. I think we're going to have the red up. Because I think it looks cool. That's why. Now, before I do anything here, I'm just going to take a little marabou. I'm just going to take this whole end and just tie it on there because I don't really care about it being super pretty. Super glue for durability's sake, as I always do on the gurgler. Trim that after. And now maybe I can just like wrap this is kind of what I was thinking. Trying something different than I usually do. Or the other option was what I was going to do is tie it on normally and then just kind of sway the material. What I can do is actually kind of like take it underneath. Just kind of like bending it like that. But what I should do is just recut it or cut it off, I guess. Trying something different. Normally I would just tie the rabbit strip tail. I'm kind of like trying to incorporate the rabbit strip the whole way. I think I'm just gonna like tie it like maybe. I know what to do. I'm gonna stop being dumb. Just gonna cut it off the hide. That's what we're gonna do. Just make it much easier. How about that? Just get rid of the annoying thing in general. I don't mind if I get some of this like this. We got that pink like that, and now we could take a little ram's wool. And throw a little finishing touch on here with some red. It's probably way too much ram's wool, actually. And I could do the black head. I'm not going to worry about it. I don't even do it a lot of times. This will be fine. Okay, I can see all sorts of, I can see marabou. I can see all sorts of crap floating around in the air now. Marabou, rabbit strip stuff. So again, that mono strip, you know, is gonna, it's gonna help for sure. Stop this thing from fouling, especially 100 pounds. So normally, I think you get alright. You'd be alright with 40-pound stiff mono or something. But even I used to use 20-pound Mason stiff mono, especially stiff mono in particular. Definitely want to cut the ends though. Like so. Get a nice fancy cut there on the end. Nice and simple, nothing too crazy. Red and pink's nice. Not very often I tie with red and pink. That's quite nice. All right. Oh, man, my back is killing me. I've been sitting down tying all day. Oh, let's take a break. Whew. Man, I could see the neck crack. I could see it on my mixer, like the audio. I could see the level of my neck crack. It almost got in the yellow. That's how loud it was. It's kind of wild. I'm getting low on some juice, too. All right. What's going on, chat? Yeah, I tell you what. Cranking out some cinders today. Cranking out some cinders. I got to tie like another 6. The problem is, I might have ran out of ram's wool, so this might be what we have for now. I got to see if I have any more red material that I could use for the throats, the underside. We burned through a lot of it. I probably had enough to do 6 more, but we used it on the articulated fly. So we burned through quite a lot of it right there. Oops. Well, you know, what are you gonna do? Man, I got so many. I'm just thinking I got... Really, the next month or so, I'm just doing as many kinky muddlers as possible. I mean, I've been cranking them out, but now it's kind of like go time, you know what I mean? So, I'm thinking probably around at some point near late May, I'm going to be done with most of the hardcore roosterfish tying. So, it's going to be back to, like, weekly fly time videos. Like, I'm working on another fly time video here, but it's been almost 2 weeks since the last one. I apologize, but I've been so busy, so... Just like another month or so of me getting as many of these done as possible, and then I'll be have a lot more time to spend time working on YouTube videos and stuff like that, you know what I mean? No fluorofiber. That is the issue. No fluorofiber for sure. I know. No fluorofiber. Yeah. True. No fluorofiber. True. All right. Let's take a look at the Discord and see what you guys have been working on. I'm not gonna lie, I got started a little bit later today because I was working on some stuff. But, my back's already getting a little bit tense here, so... We might be wrapping things up here soon, but we got some sick flies to take a look at that you guys have been working on. And I don't think we saw all of this, so let's go back. Let's take a look. Not only do I gotta work on this fly order, but I gotta work on the next fly tying video. So speaking of which, it's been almost 2 weeks. So maybe another cinderworm thing or something, or maybe an old school cinderworm fly. Maybe some other cinderworm flies from some books could be cool. From some other tires or something, because it is about that time of the year, right? It's coming up. We got Gabe with a nice looking flatwing here. This is beautiful. Nice like peanut bunker flatwing or something. Looking great. Bamboozled. Hopefully this will get me my next 40-inch pike, he's saying. Hell yeah, dude. You can tell he was tying articulated because he has a bandage on. No. Bamboozle ties great flies, fantastic flies. These are the sort of, this is like the dragon tails, but not the ones that we're used to here in the U.S. The like chenille ones that they sell. This is like, or that's branded as. This is like the European style pike dragon tails they use. These are sick. So these are awesome. Big beads, articulation, big tails. You might even be able to swap the tail out. This one might be attached, but you can set them up with rigs to where you can swap out the tails to different colors. Very cool. Something I want to experiment with stripers. I want to use something like this on a single hook fly and swap out the tails for striped bass. I do want to try this for sure at some time, at some point. We got Yumi with some Calvin stuff. Nice looking banners with some ostrich hurl. Very cool. Interesting. I like the holographic tape. the like pearl holographic tape. That's pretty interesting. That looks cool. It's not something I see a lot. And we got Yumi here tying. This is a perfect Bob's Banner, by the way. I like the, it's almost like a spun deer hair head on it, which is pretty cool. It's pretty, oh, I see you got the nice razor blades too. Those are the ones right there. You got a whole box of those things? Nice. You should be easy trimming. Little Easy Body Clouser. This looks sick. I don't think I've used Easy Body like this. Smart. I don't think I've done that before. I don't think I've ever done that. Oh, nice. Here's the deer hair spinning with Calvin. That's the style heads I usually do. Like this. I like that. I mean, this looks good too. This is like a big chunky mullet style almost, if you will. Very nice though. Looking great. What are these? Who flies? Is that what this is? The Who Fly by Johnny Kane? It looks like it. Something similar. Yeah, nice. Poppers. Well, you guys been crushing flies, huh? You certainly have enough flies to go fishing, it looks like. Never enough. And then we got some cool picks, too. Which, I think... Yeah, we saw this one last time when you guys went. So this is Murano. Murano catching sea trout, and he's over in, I think Denmark, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So this is a sea trout from Denmark, and he keeps them every once in a while. So it was interesting. These actually have, which look to be like, they don't look like spearing or like anchovies. You know what these look like? These look like juvenile like cod or something, don't they? They look like some sort of juvenile ling or something almost from the shape. Interesting though. That could be like a more traditional bait fish, but even look at them. They don't have like, I guess the fins could have been digested. Yeah, right here, yeah. They look like some sort of like juvenile cod or something almost, but or gobies. They're gobies. Interesting. So they're kind of. I wonder if they're like almost like killie type bait they have. Anyways, that was cool. Bamboo. This was his new personal best pike at 38 inches. Look at that. Beautiful. And it's crazy. 38 inches. The thing's only 12 pounds. It's funny with pike, they don't get like really heavy. They're just really long. They're like big submarines of death, you know? Had the idea and tried it to see if it catches any, and yes, it spun deer hair. Gotcha, yeah, bucktail. Well, it's like, you know, I don't know if it makes a huge difference whether you use Easy Body or Bill's Body Braid for like that holographic wrap on the Clouser, but it's just really, it's a cool idea to see it. Yeah, look at that, man. That's a fish right there, huh? Beautiful. Beautiful fish. So we got Zeke. I think this was like one of the first bass you got of the year, right? Hell yeah. Now, you see that right there? That's pink fluorofiber. That's probably the only reason the fish ate it, honestly. Very nice. We're going to go do some fishing with Zeke at some point. And then Bamboozled's just fishing in what looks like a scene from Lord of the Rings. Like, what the hell is this, dude? It's unbelievably gorgeous. Some sort of damsel or some sort of midge or something, right? Damn. Check out the nostril on this thing, isn't it? It's crazy. Great blue heron. Unbelievable. The herons are my favorite. The herons are my favorite birds. There's a black heron and like a green heron that you see out here. Those are my favorite birds. They're some of the coolest looking birds you'll ever see. And you see them particularly at night. They like go out at night and they'll eat bait and stuff. But Yeah, it's like the green heron, I think it is, or the black heron, I think they call it. They're smaller than the great blue herons as well. And beautiful trout. I can't even tell. Is this a brown or this looks like a mix between like a brown trout and a rainbow, or is it like a cutthroat or something? Maybe it's a cutthroat. It's so gold. It's crazy. Is that what that is? A cutthroat? Kind of looks like it. Yeah, Bamboozle lives in, I think he's in Arizona or something, but he's in a beautiful part of the country where it's like beautiful, beautiful, like mountainous, lush rivers and stuff. It's a very cool area. I'm pretty certain he's in like Arizona or something like that. So, very cool. Yeah, Marana too wanted to point out this is a brand new fly never used, but when you stick other flies in your fly box and the moisture wicks off, it can destroy brand new flies. So it's one of the reasons why I like these Gamakatsu hooks, these or I like the stainless hooks and stuff like that, the nickel finish, or whatever, the light tin finish I should say. It's these black hooks that will rust a lot easier, but no matter what, you got to rinse your flies out. So and then we got the tabletop section, which we got folks from Micro Rolls Dice been posting stuff. But I think we're caught up on just about everything. Is there any fishing stuff we missed here? I don't think so. No. All right. Very nice. If you guys are interested, whether it's Discord, for Discord on YouTube, in the description you can join. I see we get folks joining every now and then. Probably from watching the live streams or something, or from videos, and on Twitch !Discord. But we always love seeing what you folks are tying and stuff like that, because it's always interesting to see what everyone's been up to and tying themselves, you know what I mean? So I always appreciate it when you folks share stuff. So especially when I'm stuck here working at home tying, and I get to see some cool fishing from other parts of the country too. So, but all right, chat. Well, somebody call Keith because we didn't hit 3 hours. But I tell you what, I got started a little bit later, and it's already pretty freaking late. I need to make some food. I need to clean everything up, and I have like 12 more of these kinky muddlers that I'm trying to get done tonight, where I just got to do the front 2 ties, and then tomorrow I'm gonna trim them, put the eyes on, and then I can get some get them to pick these up. So that'll be nice, because it's right in perfect timing for the bills coming up this month, so for even more material. But chat, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for handing out. We'll we have, obviously we'll be streaming next week, but I have a video coming up that I'm working on for a for some different springtime patterns that I wanted to do. And then I still need to do some larger videos talking about specifically like either cinder worms or like this one's not going to be too long, but it's going to be more in depth than the normal fly tying editing video. And how I do it is like springtime striper flies, like a fly box, or how like my striper spring fly box or something, whatever. I don't know what the title would be, but so got a lot going on. But no matter what, we're going to have a new fly time video coming out soon, either by the end of the weekend or the start of next week at some point. And it's probably this weekend. I got to go drop off cinder worm fly, so I have to get some more cinder worms done tonight and get these kinky muddlers done and yada, yada, yada. But so I'm going to try and get out and do some fishing at some point. Like I said, we're going to be doing some live streaming on YouTube and Twitch. I just got to figure out how to set Restream up. But we will be doing some fishing streams as well, so you guys can watch me, ramble while fishing and, maybe catch something every now and then. So we'll see. But chat, thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you folks had an awesome night. Have an awesome weekend. Have a great rest of your Friday night. And if you're going to be doing some tying, good luck on the vise. Don't break any thread like I do. And good luck on the water if you're doing some fishing. So let us know how you do. Feel free to post any stuff in the Discord or, let us know next stream. So, but chat, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You folks have an awesome night. You have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon with another fly time video and another stream here next Friday. So we might even start mixing it up, throwing in some other streams, but I just got to get as much stuff done. So we're peak fly tying season right now. So, all right, chat. You take it easy. You have an awesome night. Thank you so much again for watching. You have a good week. Neves, Brundle, Calvin, Yumi, Zeke. We had Liam. Good luck, Liam, if you're going out there doing some cinderworm fishing. I'll be going in a week or two. Craig, Jim, Slim. Thank you again, everybody. I know we had Brew with the resub and all that. So I'm going to break out the vacuum and clean the mess I made. So, chat, you take it easy. Have an awesome night. Great weekend.